Welcome, brave souls, to another chilling tale from the Nightmare Maestro's collection. Have you ever noticed something strange in the background of someone's dating profile picture? Something that shouldn't be there? Something that makes your skin crawl? Let me tell you about Janet Leigh's experience with Boston's dating scene. She thought she was being picky about her matches, but it turns out something far more sinister was choosing them for her. By the time she noticed the pattern, it was already too late. Janet's thumb hovered over her phone screen, mindlessly swiping through profile after profile on the dating app. 29 years old, successful software engineer at a prestigious tech company, and perpetually single in Boston's ruthless dating scene. The harsh blue light of her phone illuminated her face in the darkness of her Beacon Hill apartment as midnight approached, casting strange shadows on her walls. Another generic gym selfie, another fish photo, another group shot where she couldn't tell which one was actually her potential match. Her eyes burned from staring at the screen for hours, but the alternative was worse, lying awake in bed, listening to the sounds of her neighbor's happy relationship through the thin walls of her overpriced apartment. The dating app's algorithm kept serving her the same types of profiles: startup bros, finance guys, and self-proclaimed entrepreneurs. She was about to call it a night when something made her pause. James, 31, pediatrician. His photos were tasteful: one at the Museum of Fine Arts, standing before a massive abstract painting, another hiking in the White Mountains with a genuine smile that reached his eyes, and a candid shot at a cafe in the South End. The lighting in each photo was perfect, almost professionally done. She zoomed in on the cafe photo, drawn to the way he seemed lost in thought, cradling a ceramic mug between his hands. That's when she noticed it in the background, so subtle she almost missed it. A white-faced clown with a red nose peering through the window behind him. The figure was partially obscured by the cafe's logo decal, but those dark eyes seemed to stare directly at her through the screen. Must be some street performer, she thought, swiping right before moving on. After all, Boston was full of street artists and performers, especially in the touristy areas. Yet something about those hollow black eyes made her hesitate before setting down her phone. They seemed too dark, too deep, like windows into an endless void. Janet shook her head, blaming her overactive imagination and too many true crime podcasts for her paranoia. She switched off her phone and tried to sleep, unaware that this was just the beginning of her nightmare. A week into her renewed dating efforts, Janet matched with David, 33, a financial analyst at one of the big firms downtown. His profile showcased a sophisticated man about town: crisp suits at charity galas, rooftop bars with city skyline views, sailing on the Charles River. Each photo carefully curated to project success and stability, the kind of life her Chinese parents would approve of. But as she examined his photos more closely, her blood ran cold. There it was again, a clown in the background of his corporate headshot, partially hidden behind a potted plant in what looked like a high-rise office. The same white face, the same red nose, but this time it seemed closer to the subject. The dark eyes were more visible, the painted smile wider and more menacing. Janet quickly pulled up James's profile again, but it had vanished from her matches. Not just their conversation, his entire profile had disappeared, as if it had never existed. She tried searching for him by name, age, and occupation, but nothing came up. She even checked her screenshot folder, only to find the image corrupted, the clown's face the only clear part of the otherwise pixelated mess. She tried to convince herself it was a coincidence, maybe some viral marketing campaign or a weird Boston trend she hadn't heard about. Yet something about those hollow black eyes in the clown's face made her stomach churn. As a software engineer, she knew how dating app algorithms worked. They showed you profiles based on your preferences, location, and activity. But what kind of algorithm would match her with profiles all containing the same creepy figure? That night, she dreamed of dark eyes watching her through her phone screen, of white-gloved hands reaching through digital spaces. She woke up to find her phone's screen cracked, though she was sure it had been perfect when she went to bed. The third match came 2 days later. Michael, 30, architect. Janet almost swiped left until she glimpsed the clown, now standing directly behind him in what appeared to be a Park Street station photo. The figure was more distinct this time, ruffled collar perfectly starched, rainbow wig meticulously styled, and that same dead-eyed stare boring through the screen. But what disturbed her most was how none of the other commuters in the photo seemed to notice the garish figure towering over them, its white-gloved hands hovering inches from Michael's shoulders. Janet began taking screenshots, creating a folder dedicated to this investigation. Her technical background demanded evidence, patterns, proof. But when she tried analyzing the images, her software kept crashing. The metadata showed photos taken months apart, yet the clown remained unchanged, same position, same shadows, same terrible smile. The consistency defied every law of photography she knew. When she zoomed in on the figure, her screen would flicker with strange symbols, carnival tickets, balloon animals, circus tents before going black. Each time she rebooted, her phone's gallery showed new corrupted thumbnails. But these weren't random digital artifacts, they formed a pattern. In empty corners of her photos, between the pixels of family pictures and work screenshots, hints of red and white began emerging like a virus spreading through her digital life. Despite her growing unease, Janet agreed to meet Thomas, 32, her fourth match, at a dimly lit wine bar in Back Bay. His profile photos had shown the clown too, this time pressed against the window of his car, makeup smeared across the glass in a pattern that looked disturbingly like words. She told herself she was being paranoid, that she needed to get out and date like a normal person. Besides, meeting in a public place with plenty of witnesses seemed safe enough. The date started well at Petit Robert Bistro, where brass fixtures cast warm amber pools of light that seemed to push back against the shadows lurking in the corners. The rich aroma of garlic and herbs wafted from the kitchen, mingling with the earthy scent of cork and aged wood. Thomas was charming, well-spoken, and didn't mention seeing anything unusual in his photos. The gentle clink of wine glasses and murmur of conversation created a soothing atmosphere that almost made her forget her fears. But halfway through their second glass of Bordeaux, its berry notes turning bitter on her tongue, Janet noticed something that made her blood run cold. In the bar's antique mirror, between the vintage posters that she could have sworn weren't there earlier, she saw a flash of white face paint, a glint of red nose. The temperature seemed to drop several degrees, and the wine bar's formerly cozy atmosphere took on a sinister carnival quality. Her hands began to shake as she excused herself to the restroom, the silverware rattling against her half-empty plate. In the harsh fluorescent lighting, she splashed cold water on her face and tried to calm her racing heart. The bathroom's old pipes groaned with a sound disturbingly similar to a distant calliope. When she looked up at the mirror, what she saw made her heart stop. Behind her reflection stood the clown, no longer just a background figure or digital artifact. Its painted face was inches from her neck, that familiar smile now revealing too many teeth, all of them sharp. The overwhelming smell of cotton candy and popcorn filled the small space, cloyingly sweet with an undertone of decay. Janet whirled around, her heels squeaking against the checkered tile floor, but the bathroom was empty. The chemical scent of cleaning supplies couldn't quite mask that lingering carnival smell. When she returned to the table, her legs unsteady, Thomas was staring at his phone with a puzzled expression. His face looked waxy under the dim lighting, almost like. She blinked hard, and his features returned to normal. But his dating app had somehow opened itself, each of his profile photos now showing the same scene. An empty carnival at night, every ride running but no one in sight, the Ferris wheel turning endlessly against a starless sky. Back home, Janet frantically deleted the dating app, only to discover it had locked itself into her phone's system settings. New matches flooded her notifications, dozens at once, each profile photo more disturbing than the last. The clown no longer lurked in backgrounds, it stood beside her matches, one white-gloved hand resting on their shoulders, while the other formed shadow puppets that looked like screaming faces. In group photos, it had replaced random people, grinning directly at the camera while others smiled obliviously. Creating a new account proved futile. Within seconds of uploading fresh photos, the same corrupted matches appeared. But worse, her own profile pictures began to change. In her mid-graduation photo, a white face emerged from behind the podium. Her hiking picture from New Hampshire now showed carnival tents dotting the distant mountains. The group shot from her best friend's wedding revealed the clown standing among the bridesmaids, and with each refresh, it moved closer to her position in the frame. Her devices turned against her in harmony. Her phone played tinny carousel music even when muted. Her laptop's camera activated randomly, capturing brief frames of empty carnival rides in her apartment's reflection. Her smart home system began announcing "new match" in a voice that sounded too much like circus laughter. Each notification brought the same message. The clown was no longer content with watching from a distance. Janet's work life collapsed into a carnival of horrors. During a crucial Zoom presentation, each participant's video feed transformed one by one. The clown's face emerged through their professional backgrounds, lips moving in sync with their voices while its hands conducted an unseen symphony. Her teammates saw nothing wrong, but Janet watched white-gloved fingers reach through the virtual space, arranging her colleagues like puppets on digital strings. She turned to her old DSLR camera, hoping analog would provide escape. The chemical smell of the darkroom at a local photo shop offered temporary sanctuary. But as her prints developed, they revealed a progression that stole her breath. The clown materializing from chemical shadows, growing more solid with each frame. The final photo showed her sleeping peacefully while the figure sat perched on her headboard, one gloved hand reaching toward her face. Her apartment became a funhouse of digital demons. The Ring doorbell chimed with notifications showing the clown peeking through her peephole, its painted smile distorting the fisheye lens. Her smart TV cycled through channels of static and circus tents, while her Alexa played calliope music that grew faster and more frenzied until the speaker blew out in a shower of sparks and candy-colored smoke. The end came on a rainy Tuesday evening, the droplets against her windows sounding like carnival applause. Janet hadn't slept in days, her apartment walls plastered with annotated photos and red string connecting impossible patterns. The air had thickened with the cloying scent of grease paint and stale popcorn, growing stronger with each passing hour. Every screen in her home displayed the same timeline, her dating profile pictures chronologically arranged, showing the clown's methodical approach. In the most recent photo, it stood directly behind her, both hands poised above her shoulders, its smile promising a grand finale. In a final desperate act, she set up her laptop to record herself sleeping. As she positioned the camera, she noticed something odd about her dating profile. Her About Me section had changed. Where she'd written about her love of hiking and Korean food, the text now read, "Step right up. Every match is a winner at the Midnight Carnival." She tried to edit it, but the app crashed, leaving behind a shower of digital confetti. The next morning, she reviewed the footage with trembling hands. For hours, nothing but peaceful sleep. Then, at exactly 3:33 a.m., her closet door opened with the creak of rusted carousel chains. A white-gloved hand emerged, followed by a rainbow wig, then that familiar painted face. The clown moved with jerky, stop-motion steps toward her sleeping form, each movement accompanied by the sound of an old film projector clicking. As it approached her bed, carnival music began playing from every device in her apartment: phones, laptop, TV, even her smart fridge, all slightly out of sync, creating a nightmarish symphony. Janet slammed the laptop shut, but not before she saw the video's final frame. The clown turning to face the camera, pressing one finger to its lips in a shushing gesture, its other hand pointing directly at her over her shoulder. The screen went black, then lit up with a new notification. "Congratulations, you've been selected for our premium matching service. She didn't need to turn around. The smell of grease paint and cotton candy had become overwhelming, and in her screen's reflection, she saw a white-faced figure standing behind her, finally ready to take its bow. As Janet's trembling finger moved to delete her dating app one final time, her phone displayed one last message. "Thank you for joining our circus. Your profile will now be used to help others find their perfect match." Some say if you scroll through Boston's dating apps late at night, you might still find Janet's profile. She looks happy in her photos, posing at various landmarks around the city. But in her most recent picture, taken at an abandoned carnival just outside the city limits, she's not alone. There's a man standing next to her, his arm around her waist, wearing a crisp suit and a fresh coat of white face paint. His profile says he's looking for love. And if you look carefully at your own profile pictures after matching with him, you might notice something in the background, a woman in a rainbow wig, with a painted smile that's a bit too wide, getting closer with every swipe. Subscribe for more chilling tales from the Nightmare Maestro.